Rabbi Friedman, thank God it's Tuesday. So glad we got here. And here's a fun fact. I always say thank God it's Tuesday, and we established there's no coincidences, and God said it's good twice on Tuesday when he was creating the world, and we have the show on Tuesdays. It wasn't planned, it just happened this way. And guess what I found out this week? I was born on Tuesday. So there really are no coincidences, and Tuesday is a great day. It's a very happy day, but of course it's mostly happy because we have you with us at this time once a week, and we get your wisdom and insights. So I'll start with something that we have spoke about before, but it's very, very actual now. It's, can we force ourselves to be happy? And the reason I'm asking this is because we're in this happy month of Adar, the Jewish month of Adar, which has Purim in it, and we're supposed to be happy during this month. We're told to be happy, and every day has to be happier than the previous day. So is there like a happy switch that we can turn on and be happy? Can we force ourselves to be happy?
Can you overdose on happiness?
Oh, no.
Overdo it? Become ecstatic? Happiness should be our default condition. Sadness needs a good reason, a cause. Happiness doesn't need a reason, doesn't need a cause. Shouldn't. So really, it's a process of elimination. Get rid of the sadness. You can't produce artificial happiness. But if you get rid of the causes of the sadness, you will be happy because life is enjoyable. Life is a pleasure. Well, not everything in life is a pleasure. But to be alive is a pleasure. To be alive is happy. Like a child, before you ruin it, a child is happy. About what? About everything. Or anything. Or nothing. I got to share this with you. I just got off of a line with a television station in Nashville, Tennessee. They wanted to talk about intimacy, because they read the book, The Joy of Intimacy. And how much time do we have to discuss this subject? 4 minutes. It takes 4 minutes just to spell intimacy. Television is just... That's why I really appreciate radio. In radio, you can talk. You can communicate. You can get an idea developed. 4 minutes. Last week I had another television show. It was 6 minutes. Got a lot done. But it's so absurd. Like in the middle of a sentence. Okay, it's up. Bye. Thank you. It doesn't matter to them. And they hardly listen even to what you're saying. They're just watching the clock. So thank God for radio.
Thank God for you being on our radio.
So let's go back to the happiness thing. There are times when happiness is easier to attain than other times. Like on a significant day, like the day of your birth, your birthday, or your anniversary, or a day on which something very fortunate or miraculous happened to you even years ago. That day remains a positive energy in your life. So when that day comes around, it is easier to be positive, to be optimistic and happy. When we're told to be happy in this month, it's not just an obligation arbitrarily imposed. If we're told that we should be happier in this month, it's because this month happiness is more available. So don't lose it. Don't waste the opportunity. So Torah is not just telling us what to do, it's telling us what the reality and the truth is, that we can tap into it, that we can take advantage of it. So the month of Adar is a very positive and fortunate month. And that's why the miracle of Purim happened in this month. As you say, nothing is a coincidence. Mm-hmm. So on our calendar, these 30 days of the month of Adar are particularly energized with joy. And so once that secret is revealed to us, we take advantage of it. Tap into the happiness that is available this month that wasn't available last month. And the month to come, which is also a good month, the month of Pesach, the month of Passover, freedom, but that's a different kind of joy. That's a different kind of pleasure. So this month, the pleasure is unlimited. Not because of any particular quality. See, the freedom from slavery is a very particular thing. And it's a great pleasure to come out of slavery, to come out of bondage, to be a prisoner and then gain your freedom. It's a great pleasure. But it's a very specific pleasure. So if that didn't happen to you, you don't get to feel that. Whereas the happiness of this month is just the happiness of life. Because Purim, the whole theme of Purim is that there were people plotting to take our lives. They miraculously were prevented from doing that, so we have life. Not a particular experience, life itself. So how do you celebrate life itself? Well, unrestricted. So it's a very different kind of joy than other months. Although, we're very resourceful. We find something positive about every month, depending on which month you're in. That month becomes the happiest, the greatest, the most holy. And that's how it should be. You celebrate whatever it is you're going through. So if it's the first month of the year, well, that's Rosh Hashanah. I mean, the whole world was created. You got to really celebrate. Every month, we find reason to elevate that month above all the others. This is the greatest, the best month of the year.
But during Adar, we're actually told that this is what you should be doing. So, and you said each month has its own energy. Now, obviously, we're a little bit too far removed to feel it. But how do we get tuned in order to feel the energy, in order to absorb it and utilize it?
Yeah, that's why God has to reveal these things, because we would never know. In fact, if you want to hear something really mystical, the name of God in Hebrew is spelled with 4 letters. The Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey. How many combinations can you make out of 4 letters? Many different arrangements. 12. That's why there are 12 months. Because each combination, each arrangement of the 4 letters produces a different energy that is the month, the energy of that month. So when you arrange the letters in a certain way, it either emphasizes the importance or the perfection or the joy or the seriousness. 12 different conditions, 12 different months. How do we know this? Well, it's got to be revealed to us. People who are extra sensitive will actually feel it. They will know that the month of Adar began without ever looking at a calendar, because they can feel it. But those are hypersensitive, extra sensitive people. So they would know it without being told. Most of us need to be told. And after we're told, we need the explanation. And after the explanation, we need details and we need application. We need to embody it in order to get to experience it. So over the years, over the centuries and millennia, we've studied it, we've embodied it, we've absorbed it, we've become it. It's in our DNA. So how do you do it in actual fact? There are times when it is very important, essential to life, to be accountable, to be responsible. Like at the end of every week, on Thursday night, you should sit down and take a review of the week. How did it go? Was it good? Did you accomplish enough? Did you do enough goodness? Was it lacking? What can you fix? What can you repeat? What should you not repeat? That's kind of a serious note. That's a little heaviness there. But so essential. Like in any business, if you don't stop once in a while to make an account and see whether you're actually making a profit or losing money, you're irresponsible. On the other hand, if that's all you do every day, check and check again to see, did I make any money? Did I make any money? You're not going to make any money. So only once a week, not more. But once a week is not bad. Or once a month, be enough. What do you do the rest of the time? The rest of the time, you enjoy the business. You are proud of your product. You take pleasure in the fact that you're contributing to society or to commerce. So there are so many other experiences besides being responsible, besides being your own accountant. And the same is true with life itself. You got to be an accountant of your life. Got to take stock every now and then. How are you doing? Should you do more? How could you do more? But not every day. Not even every month. Some months should be spent enjoying the process, taking pleasure from the successes that are there, without questioning whether it's enough, is it sufficient, could you do better? You don't always have to drain all the joy out of it by being so responsible. So you got to get a balance. In the month of Adar, make no accounts. Do not do any reviews. Just enjoy what you have. That's how you increase joy. Take away the heaviness. Don't get into self-criticism, self-evaluation. That kind of puts a heaviness on the mood. So today, as you can imagine, it's much harder to remove the serious thoughts that are preoccupying us. But when the going gets tough, the tough get going. We can do it. And when we do it under these circumstances, the joy is increased. Because I saw this sign once in an office. It said, if you can be calm under the circumstances, you probably don't understand the circumstances. See, that's a negative thought.
Rabbi
On the
Friedman,
positive
I'm
side,
sorry. Mm-hmm.
if you can be calm under these circumstances, wow, you're really calm. So if you can be happy, given the experiences of the past 12 months, you are really happy. If you can see the pleasure of life, even though there's so much that is not pleasant at all, then you have tapped into the real pleasure of life. So it's a challenge, but when we rise to the challenge, the benefits are amazing.
Rabbi Friedman, but in Judaism, we're allowed to use tools that make us happy, such as meat and wine. They make our soul happy. So what kind of tools are out there? Is it okay to use tools? And what kind of tools are out there to increase the happiness?
Got to be very careful. You become dependent on wine to make you happy, you are becoming one miserable person. A wino. So the wine is not the source of happiness. It's the expression. When you have something to be happy about, then it's time to say l'chaim. But if you don't have anything to be happy about, and you're trying to squeeze some happiness out of a grape, you're in trouble. So yes, eating good food, drinking good wine, that is how you express happiness. At least one way of expressing happiness. Singing, dancing, these are all expressions. And yes, it's true. Sometimes when you're not in a good mood and you just start to sing, it can release the happiness that you've been blocking. Sometimes the wine can release the happiness that you've been blocking. But the happiness is there. If the happiness is not there, the wine will only make you depressed. As we all see very commonly, some people take a few drinks and they become very happy, the life of the party, they're funny, and then there are some people take a few drinks and they become miserable.
Rabbi Friedman, is smiling optional in life?
Smiling?
Mm-hmm.
It should be involuntary. Happiness should make you smile. You don't even realize you're doing it. So it shouldn't be a premeditated activity. Although again, sometimes if something is blocking the happiness you do have, just start smiling, use the expression, and it will release the feeling. That's true. But, that's if something is not right. But if everything is right, You don't need tools. You just need outlets.
Rabbi Friedman, are we misinterpreting happiness in today's society? Are we... I mean, I looked at the Webster Dictionary of how they describe happiness, and it's laughing, smiling, having a good time, joyous, and being satisfied. That's the explanation of happiness that the Webster Dictionary has.
That's not good.
No, didn't think so.
No, happiness means enthusiasm. Kids are enthusiastic about everything. Well, everything they want. Enthusiasm. That's happiness. Happiness means free of concern, free of worry. Like that famous song, "Don't worry, be happy." So if we want to increase our happiness, we have to decrease or completely get rid of any cause of worry, concern, anxiety. Because although life can be a lot better than it is, it's still the best thing we know. So even before it becomes better, you have to celebrate it. Which means dig into it enthusiastically. The way you do this show.
Thank you very much. But I can't help but draw a parallel of what is happening in the world and what is happening in Judaism. So we're in the month of Adar. It's a very happy month. We entered that month 10 days ago. And pretty much 10 days ago, it seemed like the world has subsided a little bit. I mean, things are still there. They're just not as intense as they were less than 2 weeks ago. Is there a connection that, because we don't believe in coincidences?
No coincidences. So if good news is going to happen, it's most likely to happen this month.
That's a happy thought.
We always come up with happy thoughts. That's how we survive.
On a little different note, or pretty much not a different note, just a different thought. I tried to listen to your Tanya lessons on 11213.org, and chapter 32 has opened up my eyes, because it's always in Judaism, number one law that pretty much describes the entire existence, the entire point of existence, to treat others like you would treat yourself, or to love others like you would love yourself. I had very, very hard time with this concept because, well, I happen to be one of those people that does not, self-love is a hard concept for me. And then I realized that it's completely not what I thought after listening to that particular chapter of Tanya, the smartest book on earth. And I realized that it's just basically accepting others for who they are and not judging them. Not necessarily, and that made me think that we misinterpret so many things that we hear, that the words are so important, and there's not necessarily that intellectual connection between the words and their meaning to each individual person. So that's why happiness is also something that we seriously misinterpret. And today I just wanted to I know oversimplifying things is not great, but still it's something that maybe people can connect. And because for me, that chapter 32 was a huge revelation, tremendous. So what would you say to the people right now, maybe something as simple as that, like that can maybe connect them to the happiness? Not that you have to jump for joy and, get all ecstatic and laugh and have fun, and which is what we associate happiness with. What should people associate happiness with, or define it like as simple as possible?
Well, first let's make a distinction between happiness and pleasure. Having fun is a pleasure. It has nothing to do with happiness. And that's why after the fun and games, you go home and you're as miserable as you were before. So you had some pleasure for the duration, but pleasure is not joy and joy is not pleasure. Don't confuse the two. In fact, people become desperate for pleasure when they don't have joy. That's like addictions. You desperately try to substitute pleasure for happiness, because pleasure can be introduced from the outside, artificially. You do something that is pleasurable, you eat something you enjoy, gives you pleasure. But it's not coming from inside. So it is not a good substitute. In fact, to experience pleasure when you are not happy is unhealthy. My mother told me this, told all of us. You can't eat with a sour face. You can't come to the table in a bad mood. And we never understood why. We thought maybe she's insulted that we don't like her food. No, it's because eating is a pleasure. Pleasure without joy is unhealthy. I don't know if this is physically true, biologically, but if you eat without pleasure, if you eat without joy, the pleasure you get from the food is unhealthy. The body does not assimilate it properly, and all it does is give you a few extra pounds. Whereas if you're happy, like children. Children can eat endlessly and they gain no weight. Not only because they run around a lot, which is also good, but because they eat happily. So you can have pleasure without joy. It's not healthy. Even intimacy, physical intimacy, sexual pleasure. If you're not in a good mood, if you're not enjoying joy, all you're feeling is the pleasure, it will depress you. Afterwards, you feel depressed because it's a letdown. So you can have pleasure without joy, but it won't be healthy. You can have joy without pleasure. And that's great, because then it's real joy, not the substitute. If you can combine them, if you are happy and enjoy a good meal, like Purim, for example, that's the best combination. Because joy opens you up to healthy pleasure. So that's just a definition of what's what. But when it comes to handling what's going on today, it may seem like being happy is frivolous and irresponsible, inappropriate. How dare you be happy under these circumstances? You're making light of the real, serious tragedies and danger and concerns. How dare you be happy? It's immoral. You're living in denial. You're out of touch with reality. All of these arguments. But they're not correct. They're not correct. One of the most important things in life is balance. Balance. Like if you can use both sides of your brain, then you're a really well-adjusted human being. If you use only one side of your brain, you may be brilliant, but it's all one-sided. Not so good. So when there is real cause for grief, pain, worry, how do you balance it? By becoming focused exclusively on one side of life, you're distorting life. So you got to keep a balance. It's not irresponsible. It's the healthiest thing you can do. That's called bringing the light to where there is darkness. You don't just sit there saying, oh, how dark. It's never been so dark. I can't believe how dark it is. You can't get preoccupied with one flavor of life. You got to have a balance. Someone once used this analogy. A person who has no idea of what modern medicine is all about happens to walk into a surgical arena. What does he see? He sees a person strapped down to a bed, hands and feet handcuffed. And then there are people with masks standing over this poor guy, and they've got knives and scalpels and scissors, and they're cutting the guy to pieces, and he's bleeding all over the place. What conclusion should they come to? First of all, they will assume that the poor guy is a victim of criminal activity, and the people with the knives and the masks are murderers, sadistic murderers. He's wrong. The guy on the bed is not a victim. He is a patient for whom the doctors and the nurses are deeply concerned, and they're trying to save his life. The exact opposite of what it appeared to be. But also, imagine the guy comes into the arena, sees what he sees, comes to the conclusion that he comes to, and that makes him think that life in general is terrible. Life stinks. Look what goes on in life. In other words, he generalizes from what he's seeing to life in general. If this is what life is about, life stinks. Obviously, that's short-sighted, it's myopic, it's wrong, and it's dangerous. So 2 things. First of all, even if what you think is going on, that's just in this room. That is not a description of life. Secondly, what you think is going on isn't even going on. You are not witness to a crime. That's what we have to stop and consider. Yes, there is pain, and yes, there is tragedy. Is it a crime? Are people dying for nothing? Are doctors killing people in the hospitals? Is a plague turning everyone into a victim? Is that what's going on? And does that describe life in general? And the answer is no. No to both. This is not a description of life, and you're not seeing it clearly. No one is dying for nothing. No crime is being perpetrated. For every pain, for every tear, there is reason. No one dies in vain. No one cries in vain. There are no coincidences. So tears are still tears and death is still death. Mm-hmm. But don't turn it into a crime, and don't turn that into a description of the world.
Rabbi Friedman, speaking of no coincidences, last year when all of this happened, when the whole pandemic started and the lockdowns and the riots and all the insanity that we've been going through for the last 12 months, it did happen between Purim and Pesach. And you said then, it's not a coincidence. And now we see very clearly that the story of Purim is a very clear story of fight between good and evil. And we are pretty much seeing that absolutely every day in our life, that there is a tremendous fight between good and evil. Rabbi Friedman, please elaborate and please let us know what we're up against, because it's been, what is the next 12 months supposed to be like based on what we have been living so far?
So far we have been living with the awareness that the unexpected can be expected. Surprise, surprise. But the real surprise, a significant surprise, that was predicted by the prophets and the sages, is that before the coming of Mashiach, we will be very surprised by the good coming from places we never expected, and by evil appearing where we never expected. Both of these things are happening today. The goodness coming from places we never expected, and the evil is coming from places we thought were good. So we're very surprised. Shock after shock, surprise after surprise. But again, balanced. Yes, there's evil coming from places we never thought would be evil. But there's also good coming from places we never thought would be good. So what is the end result of these two surprises? The goodness becomes universal. We thought goodness came from only one direction. We expected all goodness to come from certain people, from certain groups, from certain countries, from certain cultures, or from certain religions. It's coming from places we never expected, which means it's everywhere. Goodness is everywhere. On the other hand, the evil that is coming from places we never expected means that the evil can no longer hide. It's been there all along and we didn't expect it because we didn't see it. It was well camouflaged. All of a sudden, it's not camouflaged. All of a sudden, we're seeing it and we're shocked. But that means that it can no longer hide. And when evil can't hide, then it can't exist.
Rabbi Friedman, through the ages, history shows that people have been very good about learning how to live with evil, to adapt to evil. The good people, I mean. The goodness learned how to deal with the evil. And to me, that's the scariest thing of all. Now that we see it better, but we saw it before. We saw it through the ages. I mean, the story of Purim is the story about terrible evil. And obviously, in the last century, we saw tremendous evil. And no need to recap what we saw. And we learned to live with it. It also became apparent, but it didn't change the world. Why do you think that this time around it should?
In the past, there was evil that was revealed, and there was evil in concealment. When the evil presents itself, we know how to handle it. But when it's hidden, it's much more dangerous. The story of Purim. How did the miracle happen? Esther exposed Haman. That's it. Haman had a secret plan, evil plan, and it might have succeeded had it not been exposed. So what did Esther do? What did she do? She didn't do anything. She told the king what Haman was up to. That's all. And then it was all over. Like Haman's wife actually said to him, now that you've been exposed, you are finished. You got no hope. She actually said that to him. The same woman who gave him the advice of building a gallows and hanging Mordechai. But once his plan was exposed, she said to him, sorry, you're finished. It's just a matter of time, but it's all over for you. You've been exposed. So that's why we wear a mask on Purim. We celebrate the concealed miracle. The miracle was concealed, but it happened by revealing the evil. So it's particularly relevant to today. See, what the miracle of coming out of Egypt, the 10 plagues, the splitting of the sea, this was not a concealed evil. After each plague, Moshe comes to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh says, no, I'm not going to let you go. There was no secret agenda. There was nothing to reveal. You just had to destroy your enemy. Very different from Purim. So Purim is basically Haman made a secret plan. Mordechai was told from heaven, prophetically, that this is what Haman is up to. So it was revealed to him. He reveals it to Esther. And then at the right moment, Esther reveals it to the king, and Haman is finished. So there is still some hidden evil. And how do we know? Because there's still debate, differences of opinion about evil, about people, about policies, about politics, about everything in the world. There isn't a consensus, which means that if I think that something is evil, and to me it's very clear, I have to take into consideration the other half of the population who says, no, that's not evil, that's good. So is it good or is it evil? We're still confused, which means it's still not clear. It's still not revealed, maybe to some people, but that's not good enough. And the same with goodness. Half the population sees goodness that the other half does not see. So the question is, which half is going to continue growing and which half is going to fade? So when those people who see the goodness everywhere, people are kinder, people are softer, people are more thoughtful, then there are those who don't see it. All they see is frustration and anger and resentments. And so which of the two is going to grow and increase? Will there be more and more people seeing the goodness? Or will there be more and more people who can't see it? And the evil, some people are seeing it. To them it's revealed. But then there are so many people who still don't see it. Which group is going to grow? I'm very confident and optimistic. The good will grow, the evil will wither and die. Not people, evil.
Of course. God willing. Thank you so much, Rabbi Friedman. Thank you for this incredible, insightful hour. Every week, it's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Happy Purim to you, your family, all your listeners, all your followers, and everybody who cares.
Happy Purim and a meaningful Purim.
Amen. Thank
you. To make it meaningful, you have to hear the Megillah read. Not going to be great gatherings today, this time around. But you have to hear it read live. You have to send food gifts of at least 2 kinds of food to at least one person. Of course, you don't want to discriminate, so you better send it to everybody. And thirdly, you want to send charity to at least 2 poor people. And what is a poor person? A person who needs money for food.
I hope everybody hears this message and takes it to heart. Thank you very, very much, Rabbi Friedman.
And then you have to have a meal.
Of course, with wine.
Right. They tried to kill us. They couldn't. Let's eat. So this year, it's Friday.
So we're not going to stop eating for 2 days.
No, we got a really big problem. Kind of a Jewish problem. Problem is this. If you eat your Purim meal in the afternoon, then when Shabbos comes around, Friday night, you have no appetite. But you have to eat a Shabbos meal. See, this is a serious Jewish problem. What do we do? What do we do?
May it be the worst problem ever.
So we came up with a brilliant idea. When Purim comes out on Friday, you eat your Purim meal earlier. They don't call us the smartest people in the world for nothing. So this Friday, have your Purim meal early so that you have an appetite for Friday night meal for the Shabbos meal. We always find solutions.
Absolutely. And hopefully we'll fit into the camera next week, the following week. Rabbi Friedman, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for everything.